Hey everyone, welcome to the Gamers Den. I'm your host David Fenter, and today we're going to be discussing the hype in games. Does it make a good game? Does it tend to overhype a game and you end up spending your money for no reason? Guys, how does hype work in games? I mean, back in the day we didn't have hype like we do now, but if you look at all the recent titles and leading up to titles that hasn't released yet in 2014, there's a lot of hype surrounding titles, and you end up spending your money because of the hype.
Contagious.
Yeah, well, you can't blame a company for marketing, and essentially that's where it stems from. Is whoever does the best marketing has the best hype. Essentially, does hype make a good game? Does a lesser game come from less hype? I don't know.
Should hype pump up review scores?
Should hype pump up review scores?
Good question.
Up until very recently, I would have said yes, absolutely, it does.
So David asks the question and then tells himself it's a good
It's a good question in general. But no, I'm saying it is a good question. What do you guys consider as a good question?
You're hyping up this question.
I'm hyping up this question.
I think hype's a good thing. Good answer, Jared.
But guys, let's just take a prime example at the moment, okay, or just a few weeks ago, is Destiny, okay? We all know what happened there. It's basically massive hype leading up to the game. Activision held review copies back, which means there were no reviews out. Reviews came out, reviews weren't good, okay? So now there's a situation where some people are saying that the game is amazing, some people are saying that it's rubbish, some people are saying that reviewers are just being spiteful because they got it late and couldn't give people their opinion on what they should be thinking, and on the other hand people are saying, well, Activision are being sneaky because they knew the game wasn't actually all that good, so they weren't getting review copies out. So it's like this really tough situation at the moment where, I mean, we've seen stuff happening all over the show. It's actually very annoying. And at the end of the day, why are we doing this? We're doing it because we want to play a game. We don't really care, right?
No, I mean, also look specifically with Destiny, the hype is essentially still going on.
Yeah.
Statistics have been released, and the statistics are very
Sales are
impressive.
fantastic.
Sales are, and no, but not only that,
so
the actual
right.
gameplay statistics.
Yeah, people are playing
People are there. I saw the other day that the average game time in one sitting for Destiny is 3 hours. Does that not speak in itself? But once again, it's still hype.
Yeah.
It's still a hype that's happening.
I think there are a couple of things just to consider. Like in terms of hype, when we review, you don't review based on the hype that it got before. You got to be as objective as you can. Obviously, you can't be objective with game reviews. You still have to be subjective as well. So you can't review. Oh well, this game had a lot of hype, but it's not actually as good as the hype made out. That's not how you're meant to review a game. You're meant to review: is this enjoyable? Isn't it? What are the flaws? What are the positives? And the thing is that I think no matter what the reviews, look, everyone kind of thinks that Destiny didn't review well.
I think
It didn't get 9s, 10s.
I think it reviewed
it's not
very
like it's
well.
getting 4s and 5s.
I agree with the reviews.
You know what I mean?
actually.
And
That's
and
the
when
thing.
if you read the reviews and not just look at the scores, there are lots of positives coming out there. And almost every review says this game is fun to play, especially if you've got friends. You know?
The way
that's a key thing.
The way I always think about it is, when you were in school and you got 60% for whatever you were doing, were you happy with it? Okay, maybe you were an overachiever.
I was very
Nice, yes. Very happy.
No, but okay, unless
Giving away
no, but that's what I'm saying. Okay, either you were one of those who just had A's all the time, or you were a regular student. And if I got 60, then hell, I was okay with that.
So basically, you went to your parents, you hyped up that you would be getting 80
No,
or
no,
90s,
no,
and you end up getting a 60.
No, what I'm
And your
getting-
parents are really
No,
upset.
I'm sort of getting off the topic, but what I'm saying is Destiny got 60s, 70s, 80s. People say that's a bad review score. Nah, it's
Yeah.
not.
But look, I mean, that's a discussion all on its own. I mean, in terms of review scores, I think it's so slanted in gaming. If a game gets 70, it should still be considered as a decent game. But if as soon as it's under 85 or so, it's a rubbish game. So I mean, that's another discussion.
The main point there is that there was a lot of hype for the game. Brilliant marketing from Bungie and Activision. Like, I mean, the marketing was amazing. The way that they hyped it up themselves, and it resulted in lots of sales. But like you said, it's resulted in all the sales, but people are actually playing it. It's not like they sold it and people are trading it in.
100%.
So I think that it's.
I mean,
it's still good.
look at the new Lord of the Rings title. I mean, that wasn't as overhyped as other games.
Yeah.
And
It's a falling phone.
If I got angry.
and it's
Yeah.
I mean, at recording, the game hasn't come out yet, so it's quite difficult to say. But that had far less hype, and who knows? Like I say,
Could be
It's had quite a bit of hype as well. Not as much.
Not as much.
I think a big difference between the two is that Destiny's a new IP, so that they can build a lot of hype.
Yeah.
Now, Lord of the Rings, how many Lord of the Rings games have there been already?
There's been a few.
And people are like,
Yeah.
all the other Lord of the
But
Rings
I
games
think
have been that good.
I mean, look, Garth's got a point in terms of Shadow of Mordor.
No, he
I
doesn't.
think Shadow of Mordor is a new IP in its own sense because they'll probably make a Shadow of
But
Mordor 2 in
because,
some form.
because it's got the Lord of the Rings tag, it's not seen as a new IP.
Yes, but at the end of the day, I mean, us in the know and most of the people likely watching do know that it's a new IP,
No, of
okay?
course, of course.
And it's actually not getting all that. I mean, as Lord of the Rings, it should be a lot more hype than what it is. I mean, let's just take your point where, yes, it's Lord of the Rings. Why is no one talking about it?
Because of the
I
previous
talk about it
Lord of the
constantly.
Rings.
You guys start listening.
Because of the previous Lord of the Rings games being so poor. Not so poor, but they weren't great.
Yeah, but people know that this time it's not a movie tie-in.
The last one
Or
there
do
should be
people
more.
know?
There should be
The
more.
last one wasn't
Doesn't
either.
either.
The more than
Yeah, that's what's it, North?
More than North.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
that's-
loved it.
I
I thought it was alright.
Absolutely love it. I have a problem when hype actually raises the score of a game, even in the critics' eyes. Like, I mean, the perfect example is Grand Theft Auto 4. That game must have came in at about 95, 96%, even maybe 97 on Metacritic. And you go back and look at Grand Theft Auto 4, was it actually worthy of that score? I don't think so. That game had massive problems, but at the time, Grand Theft Auto 4 was so hyped everywhere that people were like, it has to be.
A Grand
it
Theft
has to be
Auto,
game
a Grand
of all
Theft Auto
games.
title that's overhyped? It can't be.
No, but you know what I'm saying? At Grand Theft
Nah, for
Auto
sure.
4, it was not nearly as good as Grand Theft Auto 5, and 5 scores were way lower.
Chinatown Wars was a better game than GTA 4, so and that didn't get any hype.
Extremely debatable.
But I was actually thinking back to, you say GTA 4, also Halo 3 received a lot of hype. It was like
Crazy
at the
hype.
time I think it was the top selling piece of entertainment ever on launch.
Yeah, so yeah.
And people just like actual people playing the game just moaned about it.
Yeah.
All I heard was moaning like, "Oh, this is terrible. What's going on?"
That
here?"
was
Like,
definitely not me.
no, I know lots of people. I'm not saying not everyone.
No, but just generally
Lots of people
speaking,
loved it.
yeah,
But I remember people just moaning and saying,
Yeah.
"How is it getting 90s?" and
Well, look, we
It's
did
the
this. We did this in another Gamers Den, you know, where you're talking about people who complain about everything these days. You know, it's. I think
Look,
people tend to
those-
forget.
Those days, it wasn't quite as much as now. Like Twitter obviously brings a lot of hype, and that wasn't around back then.
Yeah.
So
But you know, at the same time, you've also got to look at something else. If we look at the beta leading up to it, okay, everyone had a chance to play the beta. So, if the critics came and they said the game is rubbish, I'm talking about Destiny specifically now, and you already made up your mind in the beta, then what does the critics, their opinion, what does it mean to you at the end of the day? Because at the end of the day, you played the beta, you like it, and if you don't like it, then so be it. Then it doesn't matter what they think. So it brings a very interesting scenario into play because now it's a question of, do the critics, I mean, including us, do our opinion actually count? Okay, and secondly, when Activision delays stuff like they do, is that a very bad move on their side because it's showing no confidence?
It's a
in
red
their
flag.
product?
I think it's a red flag.
Yeah,
Is it not a good thing?
I don't think so. I think so. Every game that they hold back review copies to like the
Oh, sorry, the review copy.
But-
Sorry, yeah.
but they-
Okay.
their reasoning was. I'm not saying if the reasoning they gave, I'm not saying it definitely was the reason. You know,
What
the
was
right
the reason they
They
gave?
said that they want people to play it when the server, like the world isn't going to be empty.
No.
And I can tell you that when I played it on the Monday before everyone got it, it felt empty. There was I actually like played it and I was like, oh, it feels a bit empty. I mean, I played the beta and the alpha. There were people running around everywhere. You could go into the world and the people playing, you join in. That Monday when I played it, and only the reviewers kind of got it early, it was empty, and I was like, oh, this is kind of dull, and I can't play it with my friends. And so from that point of view, I kind of get it.
Yeah, no, look, because it's an MMO, but the thing is, I don't know how PC MMO's been handled in the past. I mean, do they get exclusive access beforehand?
But it's obviously
So-
not going to be
question.
like a PC MMO because it's very different to that. So
Yeah.
they obviously look. I'm not saying maybe they.
Look, an MMO is an MMO. You need people online to be.
No,
to play.
yeah, sure.
So I don't know how.
But-
What I'm saying, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying is how do they handle the PC launches of a game?
No.
Okay. Do they also say on launch you get the game, or do they get it beforehand?
I don't even know what a PC is. I don't
But no, at the end of the day, I think it's something that perhaps Activision and Bungie need to look at in the future. If Destiny
For the
2 comes out
industry as
to
a whole.
avoid this issue,
Yeah.
they're going to have more people playing it beforehand to get reviews out early, so that you have a world that has people running around.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
Unfortunately, I think that they'll see. Well, we sold a lot. People are playing it like mad.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely broken.
No, but what-
it's going to be supported further. Next time, they're not going to say, "Well, maybe we should bring out reviews 2 weeks before."
No, but what if the review score is, because what you said 75% on average on Metacritic. What if that score broke before the game launched? Then they probably wouldn't have sold as much. That's why they held that game
Well,
back.
they probably would
That's
have
what I
because
think.
3 weeks before the game launched, it was the biggest biggest pre-ordered RP ever.
Yeah.
So they probably still would have done pretty well.
Yeah.
And like I say, people that are playing it are loving it.
I'm just really worried that, like Hideo Kojima did with Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes, where he started this whole buy a demo trend crap, okay? Because it's going to start, you're going to see it coming through. I'm worried Activision has started this, don't have games available to press for review up until launch, because if they had the game out to people beforehand, okay, and it affected the score like it has, I tell you what, people will have dropped pre-orders left, right, and centre, big time. And they would have, okay? They would have dropped their pre-orders. Shadow of Mordor nearly pulled the same stunt, and it was rumour on NeoGAF, and the whole of NeoGAF lost their mind, like dropping pre-order now.
But don't
Red
forget,
flag.
people played the alpha and beta.
Yeah, no,
They played it tons.
they
They
did.
got an idea, and those people that played it,
they did,
bought
but
it, they still
people
enjoyed it.
still trust the critics'
Yeah.
reviews. Okay, it's as straightforward as it go. If I hear a game from a trusted source who I trust his opinion, okay, and it tells me it's a bad game, I will drop my pre-order right away, because I'm not going to spend 800, 900 rand for no reason.
But I think just because people played the beta and got a good idea of what it was, I
Yeah,
think that's
that-
where a lot
that-
of the
that
numbers
was
came
where
from.
they
And I think
counter-
even if
yeah,
the scores
yeah,
even if the
yeah.
scores weren't great, I think people would have said, well,
No.
Had they
I
not
played
been
the
a
beta, I really enjoyed
fishy,
it.
fishy beyond
Yeah,
belief.
then
Yeah.
if there was no beta,
Yeah.
then I can understand it. Because there was, and so many people played it, and so many people enjoyed it, I think that was enough.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, going forward, I'm just worried this trend goes forward. Okay, and that concerns me. Hopefully that doesn't happen, because at the end of the day, this is where the whole hype thing comes into place. You build all this hype, then you hold back the goods from the critics and make sure the purchases are made. Okay, here's the
Don't stay here,
goods.
hear the
This is
review.
the story. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be everyone is doing it, and I'm not going to say that every game that does that it's going to be a bad game or a brilliant game, but that's the scenario. And I'm worried that happens. It's not good for the industry.
Yeah.
I agree.
So yeah. Cool, guys. Anyway, let's do our game for the week.
Look at the weed.
It's going to be
Close your eyes. Close your eyes.
Oh, what?
Oh, old trusty.
FIFA.
Old
Call of Duty
trusty.
Black Ops. Make sure you play some Call of Duty games this
Best
week.
zombie mode ever.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the zombie mode.
Cheers, guys.
Cool, guys. Cheers. See you next week. Hey, everyone.
Every morning.
Go again.
I think we should carry on.